Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eric Adams, the senior editor at Rodale for Men's Health.
Thank you very much. At the magazine, we're introduced to a lot of technology every year aimed at improving health and fitness. Some of it, of course, is the stuff that exists in hospitals and is prescribed by physicians to improve your health and can be really expensive. And there's a lot of it that's also consumer accessible. There are analytical tools, monitoring technology, stuff that facilitates the communication between the doctor and the patient, and that's all great. And there's a lot of incentive for this in the market right now. Mobile technology and advanced diagnostic tools can cut medical costs nationwide. It can keep people out of emergency rooms. One of our men's health advisors, a cardiologist named Eric Topol from the Scripps Health in San Diego, he says that mobile health technology can spur the democratization of medical care. And that's the ability for patients to track and graph their own data and send it to the doctors only when they have a genuine concern. And the technology, I mean, we're at the beginning of what could be a period of explosive growth, as Jennifer was just describing a few minutes ago. The research firm Frost & Sullivan, they project that revenues for American mobile health market will rise from $230 million in 2010 to $392 million in 2015. And another market researcher, Strategy Analytics, anticipates that nearly 1.2 billion people worldwide will be using the technology by 2020. Finally, telecom companies, they've created entire business units around mobile health technology. AT&T, they've earned $5 billion in revenue just from their healthcare wings. Qualcomm started a $100 million fund to help healthcare companies build technology into new products. There's a lot of really impressive technology out there as well. There are mobile tools for monitoring glucose levels in people with diabetes, and developers are working on one tool that can screen tobacco users for signs of oral cancer. There are microphones and the accelerometers in all these smartphones that we're carrying around have become so sophisticated that MIT researchers report that they're able to use them as diagnostic aids. Previously imperceptible changes in a person's speech and movement patterns, for instance, can be used to detect conditions such as depression and Parkinson's. Now, much of this obviously still resides in the labs and R&D centers around the world, but there's plenty of great stuff that can be acquired and deployed by consumers themselves. And the good news is that, as we all know, because we're here, is that consumers are bought into this innovation already. They're excited about the new technology. They're thrilled with anything they can use with their cell phones and their smartphones to gauge their health and improve it with these clever, smart gadgets and apps. They're willing to meet the technology halfway, at least at first. The bad news is that the technology, once acquired, risks fading from consciousness if users fall out of engagement with it. That is, if they just become bored or uninterested with it. We all go and buy pedometers and download these apps and use them for a week or two, and then they risk, falling away and not being used. So there's a retention issue. How are you going to keep the users engaged with this technology so that the benefit is achieved, and that is a healthier everybody? So that's what we're going to talk about today, is some of the current and forthcoming technology that is going to be available to consumers and which will signal the direction that the bigger healthcare industry is going, and also find out what the broader healthcare systems and networks have in the pipeline as well. I've got this incredible panel here, and we're going to do some introductions. Let's see if I can make this work. Okay, Wahoo Fitness. We're going to start off with Mike Stychek, who's Vice President of Marketing and Sales there. And I've asked each of these guys just to give a couple of seconds introduction to what they're excited about in their current lineup of products and what they have going on right now. So Mike, what do you guys have you want to tell us?
Wahoo Fitness is iPhone-powered running, cycling, and fitness. And what we do is we took the iPhone and soon the Android phone, and our mission is to put the smartphone center to your running, cycling, or gym-going experience. So rather than buying a dedicated device, you use your smartphone as the center of that experience, and you buy a Wahoo Fitness accessory that allows you to use that smartphone in a better way. Some of the products we do have is we have a iPhone-powered scale, we have an iPhone-powered bike computer, We have an iPhone-powered trainer, heart rate straps, and other sensors that you use when you go to the gym or you cycle or run outside. We're all about very hard data, so heart rate, weight, power measurement on cycling, and we're very much focused on the enthusiast. The thing that gets me super excited as I think through the next couple of years is, one, smartphone adoption is just going, we all know the stats around smartphone adoption. It's massive. And coupled with everyone wanting to exercise more, which is another major trend, especially in running and cycling, we have two big markets that are kind of coming together. And the beautiful thing is that over the last probably 18 months, with the advent of new wireless technology, new low-power wireless technology such as Bluetooth Smart, you're now seeing an explosion of sensors in this market that are cheap and easy and effective for consumers. So it's a win-win for people, for consumers, but it's also a win-win for the smartphone companies as well.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Body Media, and Ivo Stavorik is the CTO and VP of new products there. I've used the Body Media strap myself and found it fascinating. It's a terrific device, and I understand you got some new innovations you're announcing this week, right?
We do, yeah. We've been thankful that there's a platform like this. So first of all, thanks to CES for giving a platform to, over the last 3 years, especially for companies like us, whether we've been around for a long time or we're just coming into the marketplaces. It's a great platform for us to be a megaphone to the world as to how this category has really evolved and allowed opportunities for new product launches to be known about and for consumers to know about it, including potential partners and so forth. So Body Media, we're a health and wellness company. We help people live healthy lifestyles through a platform of lifestyle monitoring. It's in 3 parts. We have a monitor, which typically is a band on the upper arm. We have an analytics engine in the background doing algorithms to help people that are clinically grade, FDA grade algorithms, helping people understand about energy, sleep, lifestyle changes that are happening in their life and what is it really their life like. And we provide feedback or a dashboard for them to understand what's going on. And we found over the last 13 years that if you do it well enough, if you do it right, putting those 3 pieces together can really work. We've got hundreds of thousands of people, notes and blogs, Twitter, letters that have been sent. We just spent last night with 3 contestants of Biggest Loser who have used our products religiously, big fanatics about how it's changed their life. And it's amazing to have this category so established now because we really can affect people's health and what they do next in their life. So last year we were here and we were announcing that one of our missions is to bring wearable body monitoring to the masses. And with a partnership with Avery Dennison, which is now Vansiv, and Proteus, we started on the journey of launching a disposable patch, which has all the same technology that we've had for years, but now it can be done in a 7-day assessment tool, trial product. And we are in the throes of launching that right now in clinical trials, so that part of our launch is you got to be valid, you got to be rigorous, and you got to be ready for the real world. So we're right in the throes of that right now, so you'll be seeing that come to market soon. And this week we've been actually announcing to people a new product. So in the second chapter of bringing the wearable body monitoring to the masses, our hope is that doing things that are even more jewelry-like, smaller, even more discreet, but you can show it off, you can make it more subtle if you'd like to, and based on your style, is one of the elements that our consumers would love to have. Our marketplace is majority female, so we do a lot of work to make these things even more discreet, more powerful. We've even added new sensors in a smaller platform, so this product, while it has 3-axis motion, heat flux, skin temperature, conductivity of skin, also has an option for you to add a new strap to it that actually gives you ECG accurate information, which is heart rate variability coming off it to enable a whole new level of apps that we haven't even exposed to the world yet. So that's where we're excited about right now. Cool. A lot of things coming in the future, but thanks for the opportunity to introduce it.
Absolutely, thank you. And next up, we have the elder statesman of fitness technology. Not you individually, you haven't been, but Polar itself, which is a terrific company based in Finland. And I've been using your gear as well for years and watching it progressively become more accurate, slimmer, easier to wear, and more effortless to use. And I think if that trend continues, we're not going to be wearing anything. It's going to just be in our brains or something. So, so what are you guys excited about right now?
Yeah, it's. Can I borrow your mic? Great. Thanks. We're first of all really thrilled to be here with so many other companies that are now really active in this space. Like you said, Polar was the founder of the whole category, but we were like a lone voice out there for 30 years, and without other companies that are creating energy in this area, the category didn't really start to take off. So now when there's a prevalence of all kinds of other companies in this space, and the media is picking up on it, and this macro trend of health and wellness is moving forward, it's amazing to see how the whole space is becoming much more active. Polar is really a company that started off with heart rate monitoring on the consumer side. We're sold in over 30,000 retailers globally in over 80 countries. We're also very active in the education space and in the team sports world and in the club environment. So over 90% of the major fitness equipment manufacturers incorporate some kind of Polar technology into their treadmills and these types of things. So, and over 1 million kids every year in the U.S. train with Polar in PE class. So, just to give you an idea about, we're in a lot of different spaces doing a lot of things. Just this year also we launched, or last year, we launched our first fitness app, the Polar Beat, which is really sharing a lot of the great smart coaching innovations in a really great iPhone app. And that's working with an H7 Bluetooth sensor. And just yesterday we announced the H6, which is one of the tiniest Bluetooth smart sensors in the market now. It's just tiny, straps onto your chest there. It's really elegant and attractive and seamless, you could say. And what we're excited about is the fact that there are open standards like Bluetooth Smart now that are in the space. Really excited about the Internet of Things, the connectivity, being more open, moving things more into a more connected space in the future, and more, let's say, a collaboration between different specialists and other industries that are connecting to this specific category.
Okay, terrific, thank you. And finally, we have Valencell and Dr. Stephen LeBeouf. Now, Valencell has a product they just launched right now. They've exhibited here before, the technology, and it's just launched in a product this year. It is a really innovative mechanism, sensors built into earbuds to get your vitals from that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
All right. So yeah, Valencell, we're different than a lot of the companies here because we're not a product company. We're a technology brand. We go inside stuff you're already aware in our precision biometrics Perform Tech. Actually, it goes inside devices you already wear, such as audio earbuds and wristbands, armbands, and allows them to measure, those devices you already wear, measure various health and fitness metrics like heart rate, calories burned, VO2 max, even respiration rate, and many other parameters. And so, we license this. We don't hoard this tech. We license it to your favorite sports and fitness brands, headphone brands, also mobile device brands, so that you can enjoy them in your favorite products. And I guess what I'm so excited about that I just can't hide it, is that we had our announcement today. One of our licensees announced the iRiver On. And I love the name of it On, because it feels like, let's get it on! But it's iRiver On, and I'm wearing it right now. It has our sensor inside one of the earbuds, audio earbuds, so while you're listening to music or talking on the phone or going for a run or in the gym or whatever you're doing, listening to music or talking on the phone, we measure all these vital stats, such as your heart rate, calories, distance speed, VO2 max. Send that to your phone. You can you get these assessments such as your recovery time, endurance, aerobic capacity, because the technology is really, really, really accurate.
Awesome. And I'm actually going to begin with a question to you, because the technology, the sensing technology that you were just describing is really fascinating, and it's innovative, and it's breakthrough stuff. What is the future of this technology? Obviously, you're going to keep your cards close to your chest in terms of the products in the pipeline, but 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, what can we expect in terms of new advanced sensing technology? Like, where is this particular product going to be able to go in terms of capturing new measurements? And what do you think will be seen in terms of other sensors going down the pipe?
Well, you know, at Valence Cell, we have 3 major types of R&D we do, and because we're a technology brand, we do a whole lot of R&D. I mean, almost everyone in my company has an engineering degree. The only guy who doesn't is our VP of Finances. And it's probably good he doesn't have an engineering degree. So we have it 3 areas. One is form factors. As I said, you know, you can license our technology this year, not just in the ear, but also in wristbands and armbands. And we want to be in the things that you already like to wear. You know, earbuds are really great for exercise, the best for exercise, but for some lifestyle cases, you know, armbands and wristbands are pretty damn awesome. Then also another thing is new metrics. So we have a pipeline of new metrics. For example, we validated in our own labs respiration rate. Why you care about that in fitness is for a few reasons. One, it goes into the assessments, some of the assessments for endurance, for example, your ventilatory threshold and this type of thing. Also, you know, some of the more obvious health reasons you would be interested in that. For example, people who have exercise training programs who may be diabetic or maybe have some respiratory condition, and they do need to monitor that when they exercise. We also have a blood pressure that's coming out in the pipeline down the line. Also, we have some folks have asked us to integrate, for example, body temperature coming down the line. And the reason why that's important when you exercise is that helps you with your recovery, understanding your recovery and when you're overdoing it. Also, there's some health reasons why some folks want to have that inside certain devices. And then the last thing is assessments. So fitness assessments we've been developing. When we've done market surveys, we've studied people who exercise 2 or more times a month, and the things they really want is they want to know how fit am I, and what do I need to do to improve for my own style of living. And so we want to be able to provide that to folks too. And because we can be in so many devices, we hope we can kind of provide a unified way for people to get those types of assessments.
All right, terrific. Do you think that there's more, like the technology itself, are there other types of sensors that are going to be dominant 5 years from now or 10 years from now, if that makes any sense? Like what is the actual hardware going to look like? How is it going to change?
Well, it's, you know, one of the things Mike had mentioned is, you know, the technology keeps getting smaller and more affordable.
Right.
And that's really good because you can be in more devices. And so, you know, you mentioned soon we won't be wearing anything at all. Hopefully we're wearing clothes still. But I mean, for sensors, you know, it'll be pretty damn light. Yeah. And I do believe, I mean, this will happen. I'm telling you, this will happen. One day, you'll be able to go to the doctor, and the doctor will say, hey, you know, you have, say, for example, you have hypertension. You should take one of these training programs. Here is brand X. Find your favorite brand that has Perform Tech in it, because it'll give you the stuff you need and me the stuff I need to help you.
Awesome. Okay. I'd like to talk for a minute about user engagement, the idea that I discussed at the beginning of this about retention. I know as these sensors, they fall into the hands of consumers, the obvious next step is ensuring that the technology actually makes the users' lives better. How are the user interfaces evolving, and how are these interfaces helping ensure that the users stay engaged with the technology, that it continues to make them healthier and fitter after the first rush of excitement of buying this thing wears off? So I was wondering if Marco can talk to that for a few minutes, because you guys have done so much in terms of creating a user interface and for lack of a better word, hand-holding with the consumer in terms of coaching and getting them fitter and healthier by virtue of this technology. So what do you think is going to take to keep people engaged with the devices that they purchase?
Yeah, all right. So maybe starting off, just on a really top-line level, what I could say is the major trend is that the user interface is moving away from just raw numbers and more towards value-added data. Because the fact is that most people have struggled in the past in terms of applying the technology. And most people also struggle with understanding, you know, heart rate, BPM, you know, time in zone, these types of things. So when you're able to really hold someone's hand through the user interface and give them simple visualization, guidance, and good feedback, it really helps the person to feel comfortable in that space, reduces the fear factor, and helps them achieve great benefits. So that's where I'd have to say the smartphone is also a great opportunity as a user interface for this whole category, because it's a big, bright display. It's got touch graphics, all these types of things. It's also got the audio component in there. So you can do a lot of really great dynamic messaging to the end customer to help them to learn how to get the most out of training with sensors and getting biofeedback. From that point, though, then what happens is a certain amount of people will then say, okay, the phone is great, and I like it in certain scenarios, but then also some people also want to have a dedicated device that is really optimal in certain other types of scenarios. So that's where the user interface on a dedicated training device, like a GPS watch or a training computer, it also delivers great things, in certain daylight conditions, or if you're wearing a certain amount of clothing or a certain type of activity. So that's where the user interface is actually becoming like a multi-screen type of a thing. You got your wrist device, you got your smartphone device, you got your tablet, you have your PC, you have also eventually your IPTV as well. That's going to be part of our user interface. And all these different interfaces kind of work together to be able to fill in the picture and give you the right data in the right format to get the best out of the workouts.
Yeah. And Mike, you have something you want to add to that?
Yeah, I personally think we already have too much data. You're not going to see any new data come out of sensors, I think, in the next 5 to 10 years that someone isn't already measuring somewhere in the lab. It's really to build on his point is how do you make the device easy to use, right? If you think about a use case from 10 years ago where I had Polar watches, right? I had a heart rate strap, and I'd go running, and I'd have to come back, and I'd have to take that data off a heart rate strap and put it into an Excel spreadsheet and plot that over time. And at the end of the week, I'd have to do a whole bunch of calculations to see if I was getting fitter and faster, et cetera, and that was a big pain in the butt. Two, it's got to be fun to use. So you talk about value-added data or just how it's presented to the user. It really has to be made fun so that people can continue to engage in it. And then last, it's got to be relevant. Beats per minute is not necessarily relevant for a lot of people, but neither is a Nike Fuel number, which is a fairly arbitrary number that they made up. And yes, it does serve a purpose in a certain segment of the population, but it's really about, one extreme you have Nike Fuel, another extreme you have lab-ready data. Where are we going to find in the middle that really speaks to consumers so that they can take a single piece of data or take several pieces of data and turn that into a relevant data point so that they can continue to get fitter or lose weight or do whatever they want to do from their fitness goals?
I just wanted to build on that a little bit more because, we found a long time ago, if you just take something that people are trying to chart in Excel spreadsheets and make them as easier graphs that are mapped to a goal, you already got game mechanics working, right? And it can really have a lot of impact. And the main thing, though, is no one looks at ticks on accelerometers or all these little pieces of information from a thermistor. You have to put it in the relevant state and do it towards some goal that they have. In our case, our core marketplace is in weight loss and weight management today. And so we don't present a bunch of other things. We just present calories and steps and physical activity levels. But we also add sleep patterns to it because, 3 hours of sleep next day, you don't feel like working out, and you supplement your energy by eating. So having that balance of what the goal or what the application is, and then applying those metrics or those parameters to something in a meaningful way, just to build on the panelists' discussion, is one thing that's for sure, and ease of use, and a lot of things that people talk about. But we've also, I think I would suggest to the group here and to the panel that a lot of people are trying to do applications or products that are specific to a siloed activity, let's say swimming or one other type of activity. And what we find is when our users get off the couch, quote unquote proverbial couch, then they want to start training for half marathons, or they want to know more about their sleep, or they want to start understanding how stress is impacting their life. Or maybe they've got diabetes and want to start to understand how their lifestyle is titrating their glucose levels. And so I'm not sure and everyone talks about a killer app in the space and engagement around that. There are all these different reasons why a monitor might be interesting in your life, and that changes over time. So from our perspective, The killer app is more like have an all-in-one device or parameters that can move as you work into different activities or devices, and then have multiple apps, whether through APIs that you're working with partners or that you develop yourself, so that the consumer, when they come in through the front door, has other opportunities to take that information and move it across as their lifestyles change or as their goals are changing or as their interests are changing. So that, to me, is more having an all-in-one device that has, the killer app is having something that can actually run across multiple needs that you have, so that even when you're done with one goal, you can move on to new learnings, and you might even start doing other things that are connected into people's homes and facilities and so forth that become much more interactive experiences, not even outside of the health goal that they might have started with.
Right. How does social factor in here? There are a lot of you guys have technologies that allow you to post your results, post your gains, your losses. And there are thousands of apps that will let you engage in fitness programs where you're working in sort of team environments with others to achieve a fitness goal, or the sort of like the group dynamic at play to keep you going and going forward. Anybody want to talk to that?
Yeah, we have, we have, the social media connectivity with our web service where people can share their workout summaries. This type of thing is good, but it also has to be used with caution, because you also don't want your friends to be seeing, repetition day in and day out of the same kind of workout. It gets a little bit monotonous. But one actually fun example of where, also social can be really exciting in a group environment is we have a Cardio GX system, which is like a group spinning type of an activity where in your fitness club you have everyone's heart rate broadcast up onto a wall, and you gather calories. But you do that as a team also. You have certain team targets for the whole class, and when you achieve that together, then certain award badges and these types of things pop up during the actual training session. And it creates a really great spirit of camaraderie between all the participants and this type of a thing. Another example is in the school environment. We have sort of like a reef environment where kids are collecting activity data in and day out, and they export that training data into the cloud. And then in school, there's a big monitor where there's different kinds of fish swimming around a reef, and the most active kids become bigger fish in that little virtual reef. So it's kind of a fun way to kind of motivate kids in a great way to be. It's social and it's interactive, and you're sharing things, but it's more on a fun level rather than being too technical.
Cool. Let's talk for a second about the progressive slimming down of the technology and how it's going to become more ubiquitous or more able to integrate into your life without it being obvious that you're wearing something or you're got the strap on. I've heard that jewelry can be incorporated with this technology. Ivo, what do you think the future of that is going to be in terms of having technology that is discreet, yet still effective and surprisingly adapted to your usual life?
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of experience along 13 years. We started with something that maybe was a lot sleeker, but was the size of a hockey puck.
Right.
In order to run for 24/7 and 14 days continuously, and so that people could see those the snapshot of their weeks and the days and so forth. And so over time, you've gotten a lot of we've seen a lot of progression. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we're on the upper arm, but we've also learned a lot about the physiology. So and even taught physicians and physiologists more about the physiology they didn't even know about, where you could sense things. And as we've been mapping to the body and learning more over the years, you start to see the size and form factor come down. There's a lot of new opportunities to start to suggest to the consumerist marketplace, even with partners. So when you take some of the stuff of the learnings like we did with the patch, where you're running 7 days on a coin cell with all the same sensor technology, and you can make it consumable in a way that's $20, $30 for a 1 week assessment. It's a really interesting development that you start to, and you do high-speed manufacturing, and you start thinking about all these new ways that this thing can become a lot more adoptable, a lot more accessible. And so as we've been, I think from our approach, you still want to be multi-sensor, because we have a bias that if you look at the world from one sensor, you're looking at it through one eye, and a multi-perspective way is the only way you get to those multi-app opportunities, interactions that we've been talking about. And I think the second thing is, as you see with what we're doing with more jewelry-like opportunities or accessories and so forth, is Can you make systems that people would wear even if they were off or didn't do anything? But the fact that they're intelligent, the fact that they have all this information about you, now if that becomes part of your day, just like your glasses, just like your wristwatch, just like your wedding band, maybe like the buttons on your shirt, albeit you wear different shirts, you know, what are new applications that open up? Because that's all data that understands something about you, and now now you can start to do different interactions that are not just about the work around weight loss. It could also be like, you know, shutting down, saving energy in your house, like shutting down the temperature when you're actually falling asleep. Make sure the lights are on. Make sure the security system's on. That could be very interesting for my grandmother too, who, you know, less nimble these days, might need some extra assistance. And so having them in a way that's not, you know, we found when we were hockey puck days, people would come out to the, you know, say, well, that's really cool. And we spent a lot of time on design, but still, it's a pretty big bulge in your arm, and you're saying, like, oh, are you sick? And today, when people are wearing these patches or armbands or wristwatches or other products, you know, people are coming up and saying, you know, that's a badge of, it's more of a badge of honor or a band of honor. The people are saying you're taking care of your health. They're walking around proudly about it. We have a lot of, I know some partners here in the audience who have their own employees running around and having competitions and so forth with these same pieces and rooting each other on for health. So I think once you get it to that point and you start to think about it, then it's all about, the final piece is you got to have credibility in the data. Because there's going to be so much, it's going to be continuous on the person. You got to have it so it's not just a casual thing, otherwise they will throw it in the drawer after a week of use. And so if you have it where there's credibility and a reputation around that data, and they know it has value for them, then they start to use it for other things in their life besides the health thing that might have been the introduction to what I said earlier, and I think we get into another place. So, you know, low cost, low power, smaller opportunities, all of a sudden you're starting to see like new applications people have thought about they haven't even thought about before. Cool. And, you know, one last piece I'll put on it is, you know, today, these guys know it, so do others in the audience, you know, accelerometers are like 60, 50 cents, and they run very, very low power, like 5 microamps, a little bit less, a little bit more. That is not much. I mean, that means your doorknob and toothbrush and a whole bunch of other things in the world will have the accessibility to have a low power sensor in them. So now you have ecosystems that start to spread around with sensors in them. So what's going to happen? But I think really the core example is what you have with you, because that's what goes all over the world with you. You go into this room, once you leave it, those sensors are gone. So yeah. I think making them into these more jewelry, consumable pieces gives an opportunity.
You know, I have a comment on that, yeah, too. Sure. It triggered something when you talked about, you know, putting things in the junk drawer. That actually was one of the big inspirations behind Valence Cell, was this idea of being part of what people are already going to the gym. And part of it came from, you know, a lot of times I don't know, maybe this has happened to you, it's happened to me, you forget your pedometer on the way to the gym and you're like, oh, what the hell with it, I'm halfway there, I'm just going to go. Well, if I forget my audio headphone, I'm going to go back and get my audio headphone, you know. And so being part of what people are already wearing, a big thing. Another thing he touched on was, you talked about the consistency of the data. Like, you know, accelerometers now can be in just about anything, because of the low power that's there, but then garbage in, garbage out in the model. So how do you, you know, just the output of an accelerometer, I mean, not to get too techy, it kind of looks all jumbled and garbled up. You got to make sense of that in context of what the person's doing. And so that'll be something that will be important as these devices get put in different stuff, like, for example, say rings or jewelry.
Right. And one final question, and it's in that same vein of proliferation of the technology and how you integrate it into other devices that you're working out with, like like for instance the Nike, the running shoe technology, or into the fitness gear that you're buying, the workout bikes, your bicycle. Mike, what are you guys doing with Wahoo to make that more broadly usable in your fitness routine?
Sure. So just to great dovetail what these guys were talking about. It's not necessarily the accelerometer. The accelerometer is something, but really over the last 18 months with what Apple has done with low power wireless technology, I mean, you can take data from any sensor and have it in a cloud within 5 seconds. And that's never been available to anyone in the history of the world, right? Either a doctor had to go and take some measurements and put them onto the internet, or you had to plug something in, and it was just a big pain in the butt in order to get that data off that. So it's really neat as I look forward that as you see these low-cost accelerometers, you see this ease of getting it into the cloud. You know, as we look forward and what Wahoo's really focused on is an open community, right? We want to create devices, but we want as many apps as possible using these devices. We don't necessarily want one app to one device. We feel like everyone, sport fitness is really a segment of one. I mean, everyone has got their own favorite app. Everyone's got their own favorite workout. We have an internal mantra that says apps are like ice cream. Everyone has a different flavor. There's an infinite amount of flavors out there. And so therefore we want to be open, and we want to have our technology work with as many apps as out there. So these guys talked about it as well, open APIs, right? Really trying to put some standards in the industry where there is no standards, and trying to really just have give people the freedom of choice so that they can work out in any way that they want to work out, and they can use the device in any way that they want to work it out, to use it in. So,
awesome.
Did that answer your question?
It does.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much. We are winding down the clock here, so if anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll, for any of our panelists. Right here.
Hello, my name is Eugene Barr from Microsoft. I'm just wondering how you guys go about creating a craving sensation for your users to keep them coming back every day. My background is in game studios, and so that's something we focus on a lot, and so I'm wondering what you guys do to think about that.
I actually have an answer for that. Valence Cell, we actually, since we license to folks, we help them make apps. We give them an API so they can make any app with our stuff, and we give them suggestions. And one of the things is a storyboard. Like, for example, weight loss. When you're working out, trying to lose weight, like my wife, scared the hell out of her because, in the first few weeks she was gaining weight because she was actually building muscle. Well, imagine now you're a woman trying to lose weight, you go to the gym and you gain pounds. I mean, that sucks. But if you have a user experience where it takes you through an experience, for example, one of the first things that happens when you start working out, within a few days, your resting heart rate starts to go down. Then you start to see changes in an improved heart rate response. All that happens before you actually start really losing weight. And so putting a storyboard in where you can give people feedback in the right time sequence, I think is important.
Yeah, I'd agree. Feedback is a big part of it. Having systems, any one of us companies, even Microsoft, frankly, can't be an expert in every silo activity that people want to do. There's a lot of people who've dedicated in the developer community or even in the sports and fitness community to a single sport or single type of opportunity. And you can take advantage if you have these open opportunities and partnerships with APIs where they take their domain expertise and you can bring your domain expertise together to create even a more powerful solution or experience. And so part of the engagement from our side is that we found in certain markets where we spend a lot of time with our consumers to understand what's the next engaging thing, what's the next feedback that's going to keep them going, not just 6 months, but 12 months into a program. How to connect them into marketplaces of personal trainers or clinicians or interventionists so that they can even use the data as a medium of communication to continue that engagement. So it's not always about self, right? Sometimes it's about the journey you do with others who are helping you through that journey. And that can help in engagement. But you can't do that if you don't have open systems that allow the data and the consumer an opportunity to opt into sharing that data in ways that make sense for them. And that could be to an app, or that could be to a physician, that could be to a coach, it could be a trainer, etc. So it seems like it's not a one-size-fits-all, like I said earlier. And I also think that we have these opportunities to bring people with domain expertise into this space and into this category, and really present new experiences for consumers that do go along this trajectory of the change and journeys they want to go on.
Yeah. And just to add to that, zero learning curve on the hardware. So that's the first hurdle, right? You have to put something on your body. If you can't figure out within 2 seconds exactly how that works, you've already lost the consumer.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sipiwe Baleka. I created a company called Fitness Trucking. My question to you all is, what is it that you're afraid of? Besides non-use of your products, what is it that can go wrong with this, or what do you not want to see happen with the technology on a broader perspective?
Good question. What are you afraid of? Everybody's
Perhaps
afraid of something.
one factor is that people need to be able to also keep privacy, keep their training data private if they want to. So I guess if at some point, if it becomes too pervasive, where people feel that their training data, when they export it to the cloud or something like that, it's always going to be absorbed or captured by some other third party. That's always a risk, that it kind of becomes sort of like a Big Brother type of thing. But that's a very, very small risk. So I'm not that worried about it, but it could, that's one thing.
Actually, right. I mean, that was a great segue to my concern. Actually, you talked about Topol, Eric Topol, in the democratization, I believe he said, of digital health, power to the people. That was another one of the things that inspired Valencell. And one thing that scares me is I get kind of concerned when I see people talk about getting this technology to be reimbursed by insurers. I mean, I want this to be something people can afford, that they can buy, they can enjoy, they can direct, and help them on an individual level. And with teams, I really love the social media aspect focused on teams and not just, how's it called, public masturbation of your stats, right? So I mean, so yeah, one concern I have is it just gets desexified by insurance companies. Now, I see that actually in the last 2 years, I've seen that actually not such a threat. I mean, just go to United Healthcare's booth, United Healthcare Group, and I mean, you wouldn't even know it's an insurance company. I mean, it's so inviting and so personalized. So that ameliorates some of my concerns in that regard.
The one thing I would add too is, so I equate the fitness tech space to kind of the 1999-2000 internet bubble. And I do believe you're going to see a bubble in these types of devices. I mean, last year, there was probably 10 booths in the iLounge that were focused on fitness tech. Now we have 3 football fields over in the South Hall. And you have hundreds of millions of dollars of capital coming in. You have anyone that's got an idea and a business plan getting chased by that capital. And what I worry about is that people are going to make bad products, and the bad products are going to create bad data. And so it's going to ruin it for all the people that have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars developing good data. And because, if all of a sudden people say, well, heart rate's never accurate, I don't want to use heart rate, that's just a misnomer that we don't need. So that's my big worry, is that there's going to be people that are just, it's going to be consumer products for the sake of consumer products. It's going to be faddish. It's going to be a gadget, and it's not necessarily something that's going to be able to help people meet their goals.
So you guys are talking about open APIs and kind of some of your concerns, it seems, following that. How do you envision those open APIs working? I know some companies like Runkeeper out there are really trying to push for a centralized approach of storing all the data there, or do you see it more like partnerships between individual companies trying to share data back and forth?
I mean, we have an API that has 200 apps using it right now to connect to external fitness sensors. I think you're going to see APIs in every way, shape, or form. Everyone's going to want to work with everyone. It's actually going to be a pain in the butt for a lot of the apps out there, because there's going to be so many. They're going to get a phone. Let's just take Runkeeper, for example. Runkeeper has an API. They also use other people's APIs. So they have a person that's calling every single day for someone to go use their API. They're getting a phone call every day from someone else wanting them to use their API. There's only 4 developers in Runkeeper, so they have to force prioritize everything. And it's really going to be, it's going to. I feel for those apps out there, just because I think there's going to be a lot of priorities that they're going to really need to force prioritize, just because to have a app connect to 100 different APIs, that's just that's a development nightmare from my perspective, and I'm not even a developer.
This is right. I can't tell you how many times we talk with some of the big brand mobile fitness apps, and we let them know, hey, look, our stuff is going to be in many products, same API for you to deal with, and they're like, oh, thank you, Jehovah. So, to answer one of your questions about, is it going to be more open completely or business to business? We do business to business only. Actually, mostly for the concern that Mike mentioned about, we don't want bad crap to come out and really hurt the whole space.
Yeah, but just the other side of it too is there's a lot of management with, just to say you're open doesn't mean you're open, right? All the time you have different relationships. All of a sudden you find out, oh, I didn't think about that, or they didn't think about that, and so you come up with ways to move the data in a unique way. I think, but we actually attend hackathons. We have an API evangelist. We're out there, and I think what's interesting about that is once you do open a system, even just a peek into what's going on, and they see credible data there, and they're able to utilize it. You have these brand new market ideas that are showing up and brand new applications, including in gaming and other things that can go from kids to seniors and all up and down fitness verticals. So I think it's really interesting that when it does open up and people are there now, their choice becomes very interesting. Consumers have a choice. Partners, companies have a choice of what they want to integrate with that's going to deliver the right solution. Corporate wellness companies have the choice now. That's doesn't have to be all in one. So it is an interesting time period. It's not all great stuff just right yet, right? And some of them have to be handheld all the way through to integration and into the consumer's hand. And even then, there's a whole customer service and customer support part of it. But we're finding some really, if you see some blogs out there, like even when we just did an integration with MyFitnessPal, just amazing the applause that came out from the social media side and people getting integrations done and using the capabilities or strengths of each platform to merge together for the journeys that they're on. So it can be very interesting.
Okay. We'll take these last two questions right here.
Okay, Veena Misra from NSF Nanosystems. I would like to ask, several of you mentioned that in order to increase adoption, you have to go to small form factors, jewelry-like form factors, zero learning curve, and so on and so forth. I wanted to find out where you think battery lifetime of a device falls, and are you happy where you are? Where do you want to go? Can you give us some thoughts on that?
Oh, I tell you, battery life, the battery power is the bane of my existence, is battery power, really. I mean, if things didn't take energy in this world, it'd be a whole lot easier. And so many use cases, especially if you want to measure more to give people more interesting assessments, every time you want to measure something new, it's more battery life. Also, just in wearability, people don't like to wear heavy stuff. So having, if you want to improve the performance of your device, you got to add a larger battery, which reduces the sex appeal of your device and also the user comfort and experience of the device. Technologies that can be implemented to reduce, the reason why a lot of people like to use our tech is we figured out how to extract these things with such low energy. So that's a selling point to us. But we want to last even longer than we last now.
Ease of use is and I keep on going back to ease of use, fun, and relevant. And ease of use to us is battery life. It's one of the mantras within Wahoo Fitness that everything must be coin cell operated. And that's the beauty, because we feel like people hate recharging devices. You're about to go do your favorite fitness activity and you want to track it because you want to boast to the world that you did it, and your battery's dead and you're like, this stinks, right? And it's probably high on probably 1 or 2 in terms of ease of use. It's just making sure that you do not need to ever run out of juice.
So real quickly, what are the solutions there? How is this going to roll out? To do
bigger coin cell batteries.
Bigger batteries, okay.
Well, actually, battery technology. Remember when lithium polymers came out? That was a huge, basically.
I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, that was back in the 90s, and when Rock was young, and me and Susie had so much fun. But the thing is, that was revolutionary. I mean, there had been no substantial improvements to consumer battery technology in like a decade or 2 before that.
Right.
I mean, and so it's like waiting for a miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to just also, because of the prevalence of smartphones and the color displays, these types of things, it also creates an expectation from the end customers that, hey, why don't you guys have color displays in your watch-like devices? But if you also recognize what the counter argument in terms of visibility and high light conditions, and also in terms of the battery size and the recharge cycle, it just all of a sudden it's not that sexy anymore.
There is something going on though, as because you have these other display options in the world, there's an optimization path you can do with these accessories to the right. Smartphones and so forth. So there's an interesting thing that I don't think it has to be infinity, but 30 days, 14 days, 7 days, 6 months. Certain applications it works better. I know some people are trying to go into elder care with every 8 hours you have to recharge. We know that's not going to work, right? But I think there is a path here where instead of, the batteries are slow moving to the points that was made by the panel. So I think some of this is really looking at how you can take the other side that you can control and make that even more optimized in a way that delivers the results that you want. And so I think the power thing is it's always been a balance, always will be. And I don't think there's a great great opportunity on power until you change some of the processing, accelerometer, all these other things. All of a sudden, when we made the patch, we started the only reason that patch was able to be made was because the world was shifting, convergence was happening, right? Couldn't have done it 5 years ago, couldn't have done it 2 years ago.
We need a Manhattan Project on battery technology.
There was a mantra in the aviation community of do more with less, which I think is what you're basically saying here.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, gentleman right here, and then...
The topic today is our bodies, our data. Everybody up here has a database. If I go work out in a club, I can work out on a piece of Precor fitness equipment, Life Fitness, Techno Gym. All the data is going to go to Precor's database, Techno's database, Life Fitness database. At the end of the day, I can look at 5 different sites to try and get my information. Or I can get onto a piece of instrumented equipment and bring an instrument with me to try and capture all the data. What's the best way that a user can actually make sense of the data that they collect in many different places?
So this is one of the missions of Wahoo Fitness. We have a team of people focused on this, but we want to put a Wahoo chip in every single piece of fitness equipment out there, a Precor machine, Star Track, a Techno Gym, et cetera. So when you get on that piece of fitness equipment, that they don't own your data, you own your data. So if you want to use Runkeeper and run on that treadmill, that data is being beamed in real time to your smartphone, so that when you leave that piece of fitness equipment, you own that data. And that's what I truly don't understand in the gym equipment space, is that they're all building their own clouds. They're seeing this as a value proposition to their gyms and to their consumers, but what they're doing is actually hoarding data, and I truly don't like it. So you just hit on one of my hot buttons. I hope there's not anyone from gym equipment in the room right now.
Well, maybe there is.
But
That's a good challenge.
I truly believe that if you guys want to get your data beamed in real time to the smartphone while someone's on it, and it's truly open, and that the consumer owns their own data, please come talk to me after this.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it's just a little bit early. So first the devices. We have a mantra. We take the infrastructure with you, so it's not just stuck back in the gym or back in the house when you left it. But the cloud is helping some of that stuff. Some smartphones are, but all those gateways aren't always there. But we're starting off with these APIs. We're starting to do a bunch of stuff so that you do have accessibility, right? And then the crust of it is, okay, who's going to actually, who's going to write applications? It might be us. It might be a new company. It might be other collections where it gives you access in kind of one ball and you can do stuff with it. But if it's all in one place and you don't have any tools to run with it, that's why I'm saying it's early. The analytics have to come next, right? We use analytics every day on a solution basis, but there's this kind of meta analytics that you can start to use around your life, including your geo locations, including what your car does, including what your house energy is. All these stuff will come together. It's just early, but a lot of people are starting to instrument these things in ways that they can get to a place, and a lot of our partners do this, right? So all of us are talking about it, and in the end, to make the consumer the right owner of that. It's just the pieces it takes to get there, and then the crust of it is the analytics. If it's garbage analytics, who cares? Because you can have a lot of crappy data, but in the end, you can actually filter it out.
Because I can sell you data so you could do that on a treadmill today, but I'd much rather just have it be so that you own it straight on, right? Even if it's at the expense of me selling you sensors.
Understand, when you say that data goes into the cloud, that's kind of an interesting way to allude to the fact that it goes to someone's database. Someone owns and maintains that database. So saying it goes to the cloud is a false abstraction. In the end, somebody's got the data, and they get to share it company to company or out to individuals.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. I'm sorry, we're using this nomer, but yes, everyone does have their own buckets, right?
Yes.
And then you have a chance to bring that bucket together, or they do for you. And it's just early. It's just a little bit early.
But you're carrying a bucket that's a smartphone, and so therefore, when you leave, you should have that data in your bucket, to continue this analogy.
All right, on that note, this is terrific. Thank you very much, everyone, and especially thank you to my panelists right here. They were awesome.